Hello, welcome to our first episode of Mind Games. I am a psychiatry resident in training. Um, Dr. Smith, you can call me John.
And I am also a psychiatry resident in training, Dr. Irby, but you can call me Taney. We are coming here today with our first episode. We're super excited. I just want to take a slow clap because we finally got to recording this episode.
It's taking months.
Just to get to this point. And so we are super excited to be with you guys today. I also get a chance to catch up with John. So I'm going to do a little bit of that right now and see what's been going on in his life. So what you been doing?
I think I've been making a few changes, I would say, as far as career or rethinking some things as far as my career. Honestly, just like really being true to myself and being honest about what I want to pursue and what I want to do in life. I've really been doing that. And a lot of times it's not easy. It's really not easy to really face the facts and face what you really want to do in life, whether that be because of preconceived notions or because of, what other people's ideas about your career may be. It can be a number of things, but I would say like over the past few weeks, I've been, really sticking to my guns and being true to myself as far as, what I want to pursue in my career. So I'm really happy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you? How's life been?
Life has been a lot less deep for me. A lot more plain. I did go see Beyonce on Tuesday.
True.
And Jay-Z. I will say it was life-changing. It always has been life-changing. Beyonce is everything, in case you guys are wondering. But from somebody who has been watching Beyonce for a long time, I will say that I felt like there was no new material that I saw of Beyonce in this concert.
Wasn't the tickets like super expensive though?
No. People just are procrastinators. They take their time with buying the tickets. When the tickets first came out, you could have got tickets for $55, all the way up to $150. If you wanted to be in the front, it would be, of course, $300. But people wanted to wait. So people was coming up to me in my class. I teach a hip-hop cardio class on weekends saying, oh my goodness, the tickets are like $300. And I was like, that's because you waited till 2 weeks beforehand. So I got my ticket I'll just be straight up, for $100. And it was pretty decent seats, and I had a really good time. Jay-Z was amazing. I've never seen him in concert, so I think that's why he was so amazing. But like I said, Beyonce was phenomenal, always has been phenomenal. But for me, somebody who's seen her multiple times, I was just kind of like, girl, give me some new dance moves. Come on. And she did a lot of her old stuff, which was enjoyable.
It's because she knows she can do the same thing over and over, and people still go buy the tickets.
All the money in the world.
So she don't really got to do nothing different or new. So,
and I spent buku dollars on this parking spot that actually ended up being directly across the street from the stadium that had tailgating capabilities. So there were actually areas within the parking lot that you could tailgate that was directly across the street from the concert. So although I didn't physically see the opening act, there was a chance for me to kind of hear the music over there and just kind of drink with my friends before I went into the venue. So that was nice.
Nice. I feel like it's good to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like with us being in residency and stuff, you need an outlet. Whether it be a concert that's super expensive or like just going for a weekend, kicking it with friends. Like I feel like I need to incorporate that into my life a little bit more because before I went to residency, honestly, I lived by the motto of work hard, play hard. But honestly, I feel like all I do now is just work hard and don't really do nothing like that I like just to relax or something just to kick back. So I gotta make sure I start doing that a lot more too.
Yeah, I agree. A little balance in there because sometimes it can be a little hard in residency with the hours and the expectations. And the fact that you get paid the same amount whether you work 40 hours or 100 hours.
Right. Yeah, the same amount.
So another thing I did this weekend was sign my life away. That was cool. That was amazing.
Sign your life away?
Yeah, I got a car.
Okay. Nice.
So the miles were up on my lease. And for those of you who haven't leased a car before, you basically sign a contract with a car company saying you'll have a car for 3 years, and they give you a certain amount of miles every year.
I
In
didn't
the
know it worked like that.
event, in the event that you um, reach your mile limit before the time in which you have to turn in your car, you can turn your car in early, but you also have to make a deal with the dealership to figure out who's going to cover the rest of your lease. So my biggest issue over the weekend was they're saying you still have 8 months left of payments. If you sign with us again, get another lease or buy a car, we'll take care of that. If not, you'll get a bill sent to your house. Me being in residency, that's impossible. So I ended up going for buying another car so I could just not worry about the miles all over again and have to be in the situation again. But unfortunately, it's going to cost me a lot of money every month. So that was a big step for me this weekend. I'm super excited. I bought my first car. I have officially bought my first car. But does that mean I'm going to be eating ramen noodles for the rest of my life? Possibly.
Yep.
So, but that's just how it is until residency is over, and that's fine. And like I said, I couldn't be more excited to say that this car is my own.
Nice.
So
that's a huge step. I bought my first car right before residency started, so it was like a year ago. And honestly, like I wasn't used to like managing bills. So for like the first few months, I was always broke. Honestly, still needing to call my mom and like, hey mom, like it's the last week. I don't got no money to do nothing, not even eat. So I think that's a huge step. I think that's like one of those monuments things. Like you buy a car, and then the next step is you get a house eventually. But yeah, super proud of you for doing that and just budget.
I know. I might start couponing and all that stuff. Shout out to my mother who actually did just give me $50. Shout out to you.
True. I had more money in medical school with a lump sum. I don't know how that worked. Like you get a lump sum at the beginning of each semester. And the way my medical school went, I went to Howard University, but you would get a lump sum at the beginning of each semester, and for some reason, that carried me through the rest of the semester. And now, like that, I get monthly checks. It's like every month, I'm like at the end struggling.
I think it also makes it hard because we get paid monthly rather than bi-weekly. To just stretch that out for a full month, like it's like
it's rough.
It's too rough.
Yeah,
but you gotta live with it and just take it for what it is.
Yeah.
My boyfriend made the point of, this is the most money you've ever made in your entire life. And although this car payment is significantly higher than what you've ever paid, like, you're going to pay it. You're going to make a way. And you're just going to have to budget. And I was like, you know what? You're right. He was right. Mm-hmm. But now I'm just like, okay, what's my favorite flavor of ramen noodles? I'm not kidding. Like, what is it that I'm going to be dealing, especially with a monthly check? It makes it very hard to manage your money throughout the month. Does. And then they give us $60 a month for lunch at work. And like, I thought
it was $50.
It just went up to $60 this year.
Wow.
They gave us $10 more.
Yeah.
But if you eat at the healthy station, that literally equals one meal because you'll get like a bowl for $9. Yeah. So they gave us one more meal a month because that's gonna take us to the end. Her name is Midnight Maggie.
Okay.
She is a Nissan Sentra. She is a gray midnight color, like a gray midnight color.
See it. I haven't seen it yet.
And it's black rim, black interior.
Okay.
At night, the bottom of it kind of lights up, and it's called the midnight version of the Nissan Sentra. So, Midnight Maggie is her name.
Nice.
Don't judge me. I name all my cars. Always.
Nice. Nice.
So, I'm super excited about it. It is a brand new car, but like I said, it was the best thing that I could do at that time for the sole purpose of I needed to figure out how I was going to cover the rest of my lease. Me buying out the same car that I had was only a few dollars cheaper. So for me, it was just worth it to go ahead and buy a new car and have my name on it, have the title of it, and move forward.
Yeah.
So
that's really good. That's really, like I said, a huge step.
I'm so excited. We thought that for our first episode, we would kind of let you guys get to know us a little better and talk about what it is that led us into medicine and specifically also mental health and psychiatry. So I will let Mr. Smith start it out.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
Okay.
Mr. Smith, what is it that led you into psychiatry? What is it that led you into medicine as an African American male?
For me, I knew that I always wanted to do medicine from a young age, but I didn't know what field of medicine that I wanted to go into. So I was open to that part. But ever since a little kid, I that I wanted to do medicine. I always admired my doctors. I knew I admired my cousin because she was like going into medicine, and so I knew I wanted to chart that path. But again, like I didn't know what type of doctor I wanted to be when I started medical school. I went to undergrad at University of Alabama, Birmingham, and really, my line brothers, it was two of them that went into medicine as well, and so that really, served as motivation. And also, I think for me, it was like a confirmation into, that you really need to go for this because two people that I really didn't know, we on the same path as far as fraternity, but also as far as, pursuing medicine. And so I really knew that that's what I wanted to do. Got accepted into Howard University, and it was great. I was around my type of people. It was just a great environment, whether, you know, from your psychiatrist to your neurosurgeon to your plastic surgeon to like all forms of medicine was covered like by African Americans. It was almost like I wouldn't say like the Twilight Zone, but it really was like a completely different zone for me to go to Howard, and I really loved it there. And I went through my rotations, as we all know through medicine. You go through different rotations to see what you like. You go through internal medicine, you go through surgery, you go through OBGYN, pediatrics, and psychiatry. And when I did my psychiatry rotation, I really knew that this was for me. It just came natural to me. And honestly, when I did my psychiatry rotation, it also kind of connected me back to past things that had happened in my life that at the time I didn't understand, whether that be with family members that went through depression, and I didn't really know what it was or basically how to help them best. Even, it illuminated things that I had personally went through. When my dad had passed or when my other family members passed away, and I went through my own bout of depression. And so I really kind of felt like I could relate on a level with my patients. I may not have been, exactly where they have been with their mental illness or with their problems, but I had a taste of, some of the issues that can come with mental illness, and mine was in the form of depression. And so I really felt that I could connect to my patients, and ever since then, I was like, this is for me. And I not only want to do this, I want to, get this out to millennials in a way that they can understand, and, that will help them best, I feel like.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
So what about you? What led you, to medicine? I want the whole story.
Oh my goodness.
What caused you, what led you to medicine? What made you, pursue psychiatry, and why are you here right now?
All right. Well, first and foremost, I'll start at the end, the last question. I am only here because of God. There's just so many times and situations in which I started this journey and went through this journey in which there's no way that I should have come out on top or come out the way in which I did. And because of his favor, I did. Mm-hmm. Even as simple as when interview season came and I didn't have the credit score for the credit cards and I didn't have any money saved up. My parents didn't have any money saved up, but somehow I made it to every one of my interviews.
Nice.
I made it to every one of my away rotations, So first and foremost, I want to thank God for getting me to this point, because I am not someone who came in any way from money. And somehow the money always appeared. And I don't take that lightly. But to go back to, the very beginning, I grew up in a household where no one in my family prior to me was a physician or a doctor. I didn't know any doctors except for my own pediatrician. I didn't grow up in a neighborhood where everyone was a doctor or a lawyer. So, long story short, I was born early, like 6 weeks early, insanely early. My heart stopped beating. And one thing they noticed about
Damn.
me immediately, after my mom had a C-section and I got stuck coming out and everything, is that my body was a little disproportionate. The entire left side of my body was bigger than the right side by about 2 centimeters, which is a lot when you're a tiny baby and not as much when you're growing up. But it was significant enough to the point where I had to be followed by orthopedics throughout my life because they wanted to even out my legs. And if you don't know what orthopedic surgeons are, they're basically people that work with broken bones and, in my case, evening out my legs because my left leg was definitely longer than my right. So I used to walk with a limp as a child. And I was followed by my pediatrician regularly, and I was also followed by the orthopedic doctors. And so when I was about 10 years old, they felt like I was finally starting to grow less, and they felt like it was the time where they would take growth tissue out of my left knee and even out my legs. So I had that surgery, and all I remember is that I've never been in so much pain in my entire life. It was the most painful experience of my life. And at the end of the day, what I didn't realize is when they took out the growth tissue out of my knee is that I would have to learn how to walk again, and that I would have to learn how to run again, and that I would have to go through this long process of just going back to who I was. I had no clue. I was a 10-year-old girl. I was actually super excited. I had people like signing my book at summer camp before I went to the surgery because I had no clue what it would entail.
Wow.
And so after that, I had to go through a long recovery, and the people that stood out to me the most was my pediatrician, my anesthesiologist who put me to sleep before the surgery, and my physical therapist. So from the age of 10, I knew I wanted to become a doctor, as the pediatrician who helped me, as the anesthesiologist who helped me to impact other children's lives the way that mine was impacted. And so from a very young age, I knew I wanted to work with kids, and I knew I wanted to be a doctor. Fast forward to high school, I knew I needed good grades because there was no money saved up. I knew I needed a full ride. And so my entire life, because I knew what I wanted to do, was a lot different than others because I was working towards that end goal in every aspect of my life. And so getting the money to be able to go to college and being pre-med in college, I did everything the typical way, in any way, shape, or form. And one thing that really impacted me is my MCAT score. My MCAT, which is the test you have to take to get into medical school. It was horrid. And everyone told me that I shouldn't apply to medical school, that I should just give up. And God told me to try it anyways. And surely enough, I ended up getting into medical school. Although it was very difficult with this score that I got on the standardized test you have to take to get into medical school.
In, though.
I got in. And I found that when I got to medical school in second year, there was this course called Psychiatry. And I was like, I don't even know what this is. I had no clue what psychiatry was. My entire life, I had a couple cousins who had schizophrenia, and I didn't know what it was. All I saw was my cousin talking to himself and laughing for no reason. And as a kid, you think it's funny. Like, you just laugh too. You're like, what the heck is going on with this guy? And so when I actually got into that course, I was so interested in not only finding out what caused my cousin to behave the way that he did, but what caused everybody else to behave the way that they did. And for me, it is the rotation that was not only the most interesting and easy for me to get involved with, but it struck a chord with me because I felt like it was never anything that was addressed as I was growing up. It was never anything that anyone that I knew or anyone within my family or my neighborhood or people of color ever talked about, which is understandable. When you live in an area where you're just trying to figure out how you're going to provide for your children, nobody wants to sit and talk about their feelings or what's on their mind or what's making them upset or what's making them behave the way that they do. And so for me, I was immediately drawn to this field of medicine because in my mind, if you don't take care of your mind, how can you take care of anything else? How can you take care of your diabetes? How can you take care of your children if you don't take care of what is going on in your mind? So for me, it was the thing that was the most interesting. It was the only time in medical school that I actually went home and read more for fun. It was the only time that I ever actually finished the practice questions before the test. So there was this constant tug at the field of psychiatry, even when I tried to ignore it. I felt like a lot of people in my family were kind of looking at me, or just in general, like, what is psychiatry? Why did you even go to medical school? And a lot of time it gets kind of, which we'll discuss in the future, it gets very easily confused with psychology, which you don't have to go to medical school for. And that's something that we'll address in the future about the differences of those things. And so a lot of people don't understand it. And that made it actually harder for me to go into the field of psychiatry because a lot of people didn't understand why that's what I chose. They're like, why aren't you going to become a surgeon? Because I hate standing there for 7 hours. Why aren't you going to become this and this and that? And it's just, I had to learn to follow my heart regardless of what people said. So in my long, drawn-out answer,
which was really nice. I feel like I need to re-record mine because mine was trash.
In my long, drawn-out answer, that is what led me here today. And it took a lot of prayers, not only from myself, but everyone else to get me to this point. And I have never been more sure of where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. And my plan is to go into child and adolescent psychiatry and to try to reach children within the minority community, because I feel like a lot of our behaviors aren't understood, and that leads to misinterpretation, which leads to a lot of our African-American males being in jail, African-American women being labeled as angry and mad,
and we'll
when really it's an interpretation of what's going on in our mind and the differences in the cultures, which is why I went into psychiatry, so that I could understand that female patient that's African-American in the waiting room and crying and throwing things rather than just being labeled. Y'all.
And it's very, I feel like after that explanation, I know you a little bit more. Yeah. I thought that I knew you, but now I really kind of really know you.
I think doing my residency in the South has also changed my perspective and made me realize that where I came from, there's a ton of minorities in different things in medicine. Not a ton, but enough where you see a minority in almost every field.
Yeah.
And now that I'm here, I'm realizing the absolute deficit we do have in certain areas. Like, I've been trying to find my boyfriend an African-American primary care doctor now for 3 weeks.
It's sad. It really is sad.
For 3 weeks. Just a primary care doctor. That's African-American. Yeah. So they can talk about things and he can be honest with his doctor and feel comfortable. And not to say that in any way makes us, like, you know, feel like we can't open up to a certain race. But I feel like with a middle-aged man who needs to get certain tests done, he would just feel more comfortable with someone who who came from the same background as him.
Yeah. Listening to our first episode of Mind Games. This was really good. Like I said, we've been planning to do this for probably now 6 months. And, you know, we've been working on it, developing the concept. Really, you know, we wanted to see what was missing out there. We've done our research, and we feel like, you know, this is going to be a great avenue, a great platform, so that we can talk about mental illness in the way that you want to hear it. And I'm really excited that we actually got it off the ground and are doing it. I'll now open the floor up to you guys, where you can, you know, just DM us or email us your questions or concerns at our Instagram, Mind Games, the podcast, and at our email, which is basically, you can find that on the Instagram. So just email us anything. In the next upcoming episodes, we'll actually, the last few minutes, address however many questions we can. Um, and we'll go from there. Like I said, we in the intro kind of gave you the structure of the way we wanted our episodes to go, but things can vary depending on what we feel we want to give you all, what you can give us, and what we want to portray in our message. It may change.
Mm-hmm.
So just be flexible with us. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. So excited, you guys.
Yeah. So thanks for
We
listening.
appreciate you guys. All right.
Alrighty.
See y'all
Thanks.
next time.